on the big screen 10 years ago. So I've lost some hair and added glasses in the meantime. So if you didn't recognize me, there's good reason for that. May you never have to suffer that in your life. It's a little bit daunting. So welcome to the 15th Triennial Theodore Roethke Memorial Prize. My name, for those of you who can see it on the video already, is Mike Kulith. I am the president and CEO of the Saginaw Art Museum and Temple Theater, and for more than a decade I served as vice president of the Friends of Theodore Roethke. It's my honor to be with you this evening to serve as the MC for the most important literary event on the SVSU literary calendar, as far as I'm concerned. Theodore Roethke once wrote, "Over every mountain there is a path, although it cannot be seen from the valley." Well, we've been through the valley. This is a triennial poetry award that has been 5 years since the last one. And we've got through COVID, and now we have emerged from that valley. We're back on track being a triennial prize, and we're on top of that mountain that Roethke referred to. And we're standing proudly back on that mountain today to honor the work of a great poet, Dr. Patricia Chapel Wesley. It's worth noting here that Dr. Wesley teaches at Penn State, just like Theodore Roethke did. So we have a little bit of a connection there, which is terrific. He published his first book, Open House, while he was at Penn State. And so 2 great books, 2 great poets connected by the state of Michigan. So all these wonderful connections coming through tonight. So Patricia, do you play tennis like Theodore Roethke? Do you play tennis?
I play only in my teaching.
Well, are you a hard drinker? Yeah. That would be yet another connection. If you do that. So, history shows that that's a recommended course of action for you as a poet. So, okay. So this evening, as we begin the proceedings, I know many of you hold this person in great affection, and I think we need to honor her here this evening. Everybody raise their hands who's been influenced in any way, shape, or form by Patricia Scheck. Those of you who don't know Patricia, she was a force of nature in the arts and culture community in Saginaw, and none of us would be here in this auditorium tonight without Pat. She, in fact, established the Roethke Award that we are perpetuating here this evening, and Patricia died several years ago. So we're here not only to present this wonderful award, but also to honor her legacy with it. So keep Pat in your thoughts throughout the evening, please. She was the mastermind behind it all. And if you want to honor Pat's legacy, you all have an opportunity. When you came here this evening, you received a little brochure or a program. Inside is an opportunity to make a donation to the Roethke Foundation to perpetuate this award in the future. I know we have lofty goals for this, am I correct, Carlos? And we need your help to get there. The prize has already grown. The university continues to grow the size of the prize. And my goal is to have a prize that's so big that Patricia looks back in 20 years and says, "I wish I would have won it now." So I'm sure she's glad for the award now, but let's keep building that, and we really need to get that endowment up. So please be generous with your gifts this evening. Pat Scheck was also my neighbor, in addition to many other things. And it was with Pat's support that I initially funded the Theodore Roethke Student Writing Award here at SVSU. And I know she'd be delighted that we're honoring tonight as well Gabby Bourgeois, who won the award this year. So Gabby, would you please stand up? Gabby does not know she's going to be put on the spot here, but are you a poet? Are you a fiction writer? What kind of writing do you do, Gabby?
I'm a fiction writer.
Excellent, that's great. Okay, so 20 years from now, there'll be the Gabby Bourgeois Award. So you'll probably be getting another envelope asking for donations for that at some point. If Gabby's just asking for money, it is not. She's a student. Well done, Gabby. So we're such great, bright students here at SVSU, and we wouldn't have such a wonderful academic been with us for 5 months. Two and a half months. Wow. Good evening. As I was sitting there, I was thinking, I'm kind of hurt. I worked at Penn State. I grew up in Michigan. Nobody's talking about my writing, you know. So no scholarships, no awards in my day. Okay. I'm over it. I've moved on. So thank you all for being here this evening. It's exciting to have you here to get a Roethke awards scholarship, a surprise. Thank you all for being here. This is a wonderful opportunity that you said earlier that we like to celebrate the arts, and part of the arts from Gabby and the work that she's doing and her writing to our guest this evening, Dr. Westford. That we believe that to be well-rounded, that the arts play an important role in who we are and what we do. I was thinking about the fact that when I was growing up, that a lot of times, really a lot of times, that you'd hear someone give a speech, and somewhere in that speech, generally at the beginning or somewhere in the middle, that they would use a poem, and they would quote part of a poem in their discussion. And then in recent years, you don't hear people using poetry as part of their speech. And so I'm excited that we're still embracing it. We're still talking about it. We're still making sure that poetry is an important part of who we are and what we do. So to have two great poets here this evening is really exciting. So I wanted you to sit back, enjoy, welcome here for you boy, I'm losing my words tonight this evening. So for those of you, I want to welcome you to Saginaw Valley if you've not been here before. And I think that you're going to have a wonderful time, have a great evening, hear some wonderful words, and just enjoy. So thank you very much for being here.
All right, thank you, Dr. Grant. We appreciate that. The Theodore Roethke Prize is widely recognized as one of the most competitive and prestigious poetry awards, and it's important for us to understand why Patricia's work, Praise Song for My Children, is such an impactful and compelling book. And who better to do that than one of the people on the judging committee, Pam Ushek. Now, I have to say a couple things about Pam before she gets up here. She's a phenomenal poet in her own right. And she also has a tremendous amount of perseverance. So she's stuck through this, through 2 judging cycles. Am I correct, Pam? So how many years are you on the judging panel for this award? 6 years. That's perseverance, folks. So round of applause just for that, for Pam. A lot of Michigan connections here, as you'll see, and Pam actually is a native of Michigan, another check mark in the box of reasons we like her. She's published 7 books of poetry, including her most recent, Bloodflower, one of Booklist's notable books of 2015. Her collection, Refugee, is forthcoming in May. Get it from Red Hen Press. Can we pre-order it? It's out. Get out there and get it. Local bookstores. Support your local bookstores. Her works have been translated in more than a dozen languages, and her poems have appeared in more than 300 poetry journals. It's impressive that there are 300 poetry journals as well. That's great. Her numerous literary awards include the 2010 American Book Award for Crazy Love, New Poems. She has served as the director of the Center for Women's Writers at Fort Lewis College in Durango, Colorado, where she's an associate professor of creative writing. She currently teaches creative writing courses at the University of Arizona's Poetry Center. She flew out from Arizona just last night. That's just great. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Pam Ushek.
Hello. I love saying hello into a mic, don't you? Gives you this authority. Thank you. I have so many people to thank tonight, but Carlos Ramet, right at the top of the list, who's been a wonderful host and has taken care of everything we need, including some water just recently. I also would like to thank Carlos's staff, who brought me here all the way from Tucson yesterday, where I seldom shovel snow. But I'm back to my birth state, where I learned the 1,000 names for water include ice and snow. Humbly, I acknowledge that we celebrate tonight on the traditional homelands of the Anishinaabe peoples, especially the Sauk and the Potawatomi nations. We celebrate poet Patricia Jaba Wesley, an indigenous Grebo woman, survivor of and refugee from her native Liberia's terrible civil war. I stand humbly before you to introduce and honor one of America's finest women poets, Patricia Jaba Wesley, our choice as the winner of the 15th Triennial Theodore Roethke Poetry Book Prize for her extraordinary collection, Praise Song for My Children. Buy her book. It will be one of the most important purchases you make this year. I represent myself and my brilliant and diverse cohort of judges, the poets Octavio Quintanilla of San Antonio, Texas, and T.R. Hummer, poet who lives in upstate New York. I stand before you to pay homage to Patricia and her necessary and powerful poetry that transcends human boundaries and differences. Poetry that speaks eloquently and forcefully, giving voice to women around the globe who, against all odds, suffer incredible privation as they strive to save their children during devastating wars, during times of hunger, genocide, and disease. As Roethke wrote, "In a dark time the eye begins to see." The long-term devastation and trauma of the Liberian Civil War was that dark time for Patricia, a harsh crucible for her poetry. American poetry is lucky that she sought refuge in this country. Theodore Roethke, who reveled in poetry's sinuous sounds, creating deep song, its ability to strike deep into the heart and consciousness of the reader, would be proud of our choice. Roethke's imagery was rooted in the beauty and the terror of the natural world. His verbs hissed, rocked, roared, stuttered, quickened, lulled, then slapped readers awake. The sidelong pictorial glance of his imagery constantly surprised. Roethke, who wrote so often of women, would sing Patricia's praises, recognizing in her his poetry sister. Both Roethke's and Wesley's poems are meticulously and exquisitely attendant to detail, wrought in astonishing imagery and in strong, insistent rhythms. Both write from grief and trauma to heal themselves and their readers. Both wandered far from home. There are poets and there are great poets. Theodore Roethke and Patricia Jaba Wesley are great poets. It is fitting that this prize be given in Michigan, Roethke's natal home, and Patricia's point of entry to this country from Liberia. Both are landscapes shaped by water. Surrounded by magnificent Great Lakes, Michigan is noted for tall, dense, deciduous trees, deep tannic rivers flowing over sand, white-tailed deer leaping fence rows, groundhogs and rabbits burrowing in woodlots, and muskrats and otters swimming the plenitude of its rivers. And it is fitting that I was asked to help judge this contest. I was born and raised on an 80-acre working farm not far from here, outside of Lansing, Michigan. Early on as a poet, I was obsessed by Roethke's work, especially by his long meditative poems in his collections Words for the Wind and the Far Field. As a young poet, I emulated Roethke, studying every nuance, metaphoric leap, line break, unique verb usage, rhythmic repetition, and deep oracular longing in lines like, I wake to sleep and take my waking slow. I learn by going where I have to go. Or, I learned not to fear infinity, the far field, the windy cliffs of forever, the dying of time in the white light of tomorrow, the wheel turning away from itself, the sprawl of the waves, the oncoming water. We judges found those same qualities echoed throughout Patricia's poems. Although their subject matter is different, Roethke and Wesley are close relatives in the way they use language and in the way they use the natural world. And urgency and deep, keening passion inhabit their poetry, bolstered by internal rhyme and incantatory lines such as these from Praise Song for My Children. Let me come to you at dawn, my children, my calabash, wet from the early dawn's water-fetching run, my lapa wet from the brush, from the cry of old pepper birds, the owls howling, from the old footpaths lost to the wanderer's feet. Let me come to you bearing tears on my face after the war, after the villages have crumbled under the weight of grave hate. Let me be your landfill, your garbage dump, the one only who could carry you in her womb, young, supple womb, carrying you with my youth, carrying you even though Liberia was losing herself, and from afar we could see the oncoming smoke of war. Let me come to you bearing palm branches that weathered too quickly in the heat of March. Here, take my hand and drink, my child. One by one, take and drink. After the afterbirths have parched hard in the soil where we did not bury them, after our feet have become parched from running, after our way back home has been burned by war, let me be your mamiwata, your mama rising out of the wild ocean tide. Let me be your consolation that the land I gave to you is dying. What was our process? Judging the contest was not easy. The field, diversity, and range of poets we considered was immense. From 150 books of poems, we judges first chose our top 30 and presented each other with our lists. Our criteria were artistic merit, craft in all its forms, including sound imagery, metaphor, intellectual content, originality, passion, and resonance, as well as meaningful subject matter. The competition was incredibly stiff. From our list of 90 books, we finally narrowed the field to 10 books each, then to 3 books each. Again and again, we presented our lists to one another. We read and ranked all collections until we narrowed our choices to the top 3. From our final 3 books, we each chose one winner. We judges were unanimous in our choice. There was no dissension. We were delighted to choose Patricia Java Wesley's outstanding collection, Praise Song for My Children. I could go on speaking, but we are here to listen to Patricia read her work, and we're all in for a treat. May I welcome to the stage the winner of the Theodore Roethke Poetry Book Award, Patricia Jaba Wesley.
Papa oublié, papa oublié, papa oublié. Papa oublié, papa oublié, papa oublié. Papa oublié, badile. Papa oublié. Probably. Fire and rain. For my father Moses. I want to hold on to the parts of my father that are not fading into the night. That broad smile, the hard laugh, the frown, the stern twist of face, the disapproving eye when a neighbor boy who thought he'd fallen in love is caught sitting with me in our living room. My father, his white delicate starched shirt buttoned close to his Adam's apple. I want to hold on not to shirts or to his always black framed glasses, but to the hope in those boarding eyes, which when he was 60 made me think Pa was so hardworking he could fall asleep standing. I want to fold me in his dream of me walking down a road no other woman had walked. Hope was not a fading cloud in my father's eyes. I saw in him something hard and forever, like ebony, like an oak, like walnut, standing alone at Baliade, where at birth they planted his umbilical cord, just so he would become the mighty tree that he was. My father, the lion, Kwarechi, eater of fresh leaves, the king, the elders called him. I want to hold on to his life forever, since a father did not die, did not get buried before his eldest girl child could see him in his death, in his casket, claps hands, his face still held high, even in death. A father did not fade into cloud and dust. I want to hold on to his phone number forever, to hold it captive in my phone forever, to hold on to his sharp voice, his early morning calls, pleading like a dying friend, begging me to come home for his dying. His pleading surprise about the reasons his eldest girl child could not come home the way a daughter was supposed to. And his not knowing why I would not say why. But how does a daughter tell her dying father that she is too ill to walk? That a cancer patient does not pull out steroid tubes, does not pull out chemo-filled tubes to fly and cry loud on a live flight across the Atlantic? How do you tell your dying father that you cannot come? But in my heart, I hold on to his last sharp laugh, the giving up and not giving up when at last he knew it without knowing. That acceptance of finality, the negotiation between the eldest daughter and the dying father, where the huge Atlantic stands wide. That goodbye, even in his voice, held strong. The concession in that last, I'm proud of you, my daughter. The final words from a man as tough as a steel wrap from Tubacan. Father, the early morning dew catcher. The road map home from Calais. My father leaving me to take journey where the journey wants to go. My father, fire and rain. My father, Moses, parting the Red Sea so the sons of Kalwe could follow. The boatman parting brush and forest. Moses, Kwarechi, father of fathers, I want to hold you forever. Good evening. I want to thank everyone for taking out time to be here. I want to thank Pan Yushok and the two other judges for choosing my book. I want to thank Dr. Remed and his family for all of the support and his staff as well. I want to thank Saginaw Valley State University for hosting this amazing poet. This poet that I adored and I studied hard in graduate school. I have always loved Fyodor Roethke. I relish in the idea that he was a Michiganer, especially when I was in school studying him in Michigan. I am so grateful. I am very grateful. And the chant I just performed is the oldest Grebo chant from my indigenous language of the Grebo people of West Africa. In that chant, when somebody comes to you and says, hello, your mother is dead, you say, Popolio, 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 Popolio. And all of the wailing women and the townswomen come. Because the chant says, the world has ended. The world has ended. The reason I opened this reading with my father's poem is because all I am today as a poet began with my father, who at 13 bought my first typewriter and told me I could become any poet I wanted to be, and I could be better than any poet in the world. And all his life, he was my inspiration. Thank you. Okay. The next poem I'm going to read is another. Last year was my year. I don't know what kind of year this is. But I won 3 prizes back to back in 3 months, and my name is Dawa Yino. It's the one I'm going to read. It's the one the Prairie Schooner Award. It's a new poem, and so it's not in the old book, but the rest of the poems will be read from praise song. My name is Dawa Yino. This is my real name. It means alien woman. When the Africans name you, many times your name means it's a prophecy. My name is Dawanyina. I am the stranger woman bearing hot coals in my palms. The woman born Nyemade, Himianyine, but the old women in the birthing chamber named Dawanyina, stranger woman. A woman not of this world, an alien coming into a new town where the Grebo language bends differently, where they do not roll their tongue to say Nyemade. My mother's people renamed the woman from Bolobo, Dawanyina, that stranger, the other, that alien. Even in the villages of Liberia, people know how to discriminate the stranger woman from the town's woman. I said being born in Dolokan instead of Tubakan, my father's home wasn't alienating enough. I was born with a burning flame in my heart and in my hands and on my tongue. I do not know ice or cold and cannot know what chill feels like on skin and tongue, nor the way you put fire out. I am fire maker, the bearer of flames. I fill up spaces with the burning swords of my people, the forsaken, the black charcoal skin of my people, the African. We who have seen our lands and our sons snatched from us since the beginning of time. We who have seen our own sons appointed to chop off our heads and our hands and our umbilical cords and our limbs and our homelands. I come with flames shooting from my nostrils. I burn and I scorch things. I was not supposed to be woman, not supposed to sit and wait or bend so men can walk upon my bare back. Not supposed to be the canal where children flow from my body like a stream, as if this was all I was made to do. I was not supposed to be what they thought I was supposed to be. As a child, my father tried turning me into a son, into a lion, into fire, into a body of water flowing with fire, into the ocean just beyond the hills from our home, to fill the many spaces his sisters could not fill, into a goddess, a fiery flame in her hand, to burn and burn and burn. He tried to create a man out of the rubble of my being, out of my womanness. But then here I am, fire, and I became me, Dawanyana, daughter of the lion, daughter of burning flames, Sarah of all things, daughter of woman wet from toil, daughter of two towns whose rebels sound the same, but not really the same, Dawanyana without a town, born in alien country, aging in alien country. I was supposed to be a man, they said, but I declined the offer. I'm going to read a Michigan poem right now. I wrote a lot of my poems in Kalamazoo, Michigan, my first poems. This poem, My New Insurance Plan, was written on my kitchen table in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I was sitting in the kitchen. I don't know, I'm always sitting in the kitchen because I have 4 children and they were greedy. So I was in the kitchen and then I got a call from an insurance company. And I said, as a new immigrant, I knew I already had life insurance. I did not know I needed an accidental life insurance. So I wrote this poem. And, you know, today it is not, we don't have ice and snow, but I'm telling you, Michigan, Southwest Michigan has so much snow that I wrote a lot about snow. I remember one year I had a poetry reading in Battle Creek, Michigan, my husband and I. And we were driving home from Battle Creek to Kalamazoo, and all the cars were shining like glass. So I turned to him and I'm like, why are the cars all shining? And he said, it's an ice storm. The cars are covered in ice. And we were driving on ice. And then when we got home, we got our great surprise. The tree at the front of our yard had already broken and was in the driveway. So we parked the car on the lawn, the icy lawn, and literally crawled around the branches of the tree to enter the house. So I was fascinated all the time about snow. And I wrote it on my new insurance plan. My insurance company called me today. A great new plan that's just right for me. Thousands of dollars for me when I'm already dead and gone. In the grave, while I lie still, collapse in soil and water beneath stones and cold. My husband or my children or Uncle Sam will claim this benefit for me. But first, I have to die a certain way, in a certain month. Let's say December or January, when snow piles up along street corners and sidewalks, when drivers can't get to work in their own cars, when cars go sliding and crashing into walls. I must not die of AIDS or pneumonia or chest pains. Heart attacks will not satisfy this great new plan. I have to crash on the expressway into a wall, a school building, into a house. I must die instantly or they'll never pay. I cannot be hooked up to machines or call in Jack Kovrekin. My insurance plan won't cover such a procedure as Jack's, and the police can't arrive before I swallow my last breath. My bones, all of my bones must be broken, but my eyes must be in place. I cannot give up any body parts before I'm safely in the grave. The cost, the soft pleading lady convinces, is only $100 a month, a bare $100 from my monthly paycheck, while I wait for my car to come sliding on ice, seat belts strapped tightly around me, buckled, of course, me crashing into a welcoming wall. You know, praise song is a newer selected poem, so many of the Michigan poems, some of them are not here. But I have one. I moved to Pennsylvania. We moved to Pennsylvania in 2003. And our first daughter, our first child, had just gone to college when we moved. And we packed up her things. Growing up in Michigan, she lived in Michigan all her life. And there she was, coming for Christmas. And she was coming home to Pennsylvania. She was not there when we packed. And so she was a bit traumatized. And because Kalamazoo was home to her. But many times we do not know as parents. And after that Christmas, she did not come home for a long time because she did not understand Pennsylvania. But this poem was written for her right after she came home for the first time when we moved her things while she was at college. Coming home. I got a little taller since I started reading. Coming home for Bise Nyenswa. Bise runs towards me, arms wide, despite the crowd. At the airport, she's screaming, "Mommy!" And everybody stares. Arms around me, my daughter holds me tight. And we almost fall beside her suitcase I have just lifted off the belt. At 19, she is now a woman, tall, slender. Her soft, small arms and fair skin remind me of Ma Wade, my mother-in-law. In a moment, I'm looking her all over. counting to see if she is not too skinny for a girl her age. Every girl becomes woman when she can come home knowing how like her mother she is becoming. A woman like all the other women before her. This is Pittsburgh, I say. Isn't it beautiful? We are driving past houses in the distant hills along Pittsburgh's winding freeway. Houses that lean and rush past us as we also rush past them. Everything here leans sideways, almost free, as if to fall into the merging rivers down below. My college-aged children are coming home to Pennsylvania, where we are surrounded by hills and valleys and cliffs, in a university where my new students speak with an accent they refuse to admit. So this is home now, Bisa says, as if to herself. While I turn into our new driveway in a neighborhood of rolling hills and brick houses overlooking one another. We are the first block on this property, I say. But this is going to be home. All these valleys and green hills will be home. But this is Pennsylvania, Bisa says, as doors bang and everyone rushes out to welcome her home after too many months away. We are all trying to find home, I say, as my words become lost in a din of screaming children, and my husband lifting Bisa up in the air and swinging her around in circles. All my children are under one roof again, I tell myself. For the first time, all my children are under one roof in our new state. But Michigan is that ghost that stands at the outskirts of your new town, where your memory refuses to shut out so many years. And that year when you arrived with nothing and looking to find home among strangers, where the cold winds became a new friend. Your new second home at finding home again now become a memory too. Michigan hunts the holidays and never goes to carry around among all the other ghosts we are seeking to undo. In Monrovia, families will gather and discuss the many years we have been away from home. Monrovia is the true ghost story of lost peoples in the diaspora. In America, we are the new nomads, the wandering, coming home and looking to make home or running away from home. Among new people, and one by one, our children who will never know where we really come from are looking to and only coming home to decorative lights, Christmas trees, holiday music, and turkey baking in the oven, stuffing and pies. We are becoming new people, I tell myself. I'm going to read, I know, and Pam read most of praise song for my children. But I'm going to read this poem now because I'm looking at the time. Where's the MC? I told him to throw a golf ball at me when the time is up. This program ends at 8, is that so? Okay. So I'm going to close with praise song for my children. This book is dedicated to dozens and dozens of young people that are call my children. I inherit children all the time. Children I mentor internationally. They are of all nationalities. From China, from Malaysia, from all over Africa. I have so many children. When I dedicated it to them, I had two children who had different reactions. My youngest, who is the spoiled brat of the family, living in Denmark, she was upset, really upset. She said, I was giving away what belongs to her to everybody. Why did I have all those people in the book? And then my son went to Facebook, my other son, not this good one. He went to Facebook and he wrote, because some of his ex-girlfriends were also in. So I think he got a lot of beating from his many exes. That was the one that has had so many girlfriends. So he wrote and he said, okay, yo. Okay. I know you were not mentioned in the acknowledgement and the dedication. Don't worry. It's because she probably didn't like you anyway. If you didn't see your name, it means she didn't like you. But in the African culture, we have all kinds of praise songs and praise names. Praise song for my children. Let me be your mommy water, your river G coming to crossing. Okay, I'm going to start over. I'm the only poet on earth who cannot read her own poetry. Praise song for my children. Let me be your mommy water, your river G crossing you into old Grable country after the hills gave way, after the truck slides through mud and rocks, through dangerous muddy ditches, along Zwedru's lost forests, in search of our fathers' homelands. Let me be your mama Africa, your mama that grew out of old streams of old rivers, from Kalebo to Kalokan, all the way to Tubakan, where after so long, only small roosters remain in a town that used to be ours. Let me come to you at dawn, my children, my calabash wet from the early dawn's water-fetching run, my lapa wet from the brush, from the cry of old pepper birds, the owls howling, from the old footpaths lost to the wanderer's feet. Let me come to you bearing tears on my face after the war, after the villages have crumbled under the weight of grave hate. Let me be your landfill, your garbage dump, the one only who could carry you in her young, supple womb, carry you with my youth, carry you even though Liberia was losing herself, and from afar we could see the oncoming smoke of war. Let me come to you bearing palm branches that wither too quickly in the heat of March. Here, take from my hand and drink, my child, one by one, take and drink. After the afterbirths have parched her in the soil where we did not bury them, after our feet have become parched from running, after our way back home has been burned by war, let me be your mommy water, your mama rising out of the wild ocean tide. Let me be your consolation that the land I gave to you is dying. I am becoming an old woman now, my sons. I am becoming my mother and her mother's mother. I am becoming the ghost of my mothers. I am becoming Ai, bow-legged. I am becoming fire and rain. I am becoming Sibo. I am becoming the water barrier. I am becoming the calabash that was not shattered in the shattering. Let me sing to you, my daughters, you who have never known where we come from. You will never know your mother's tongue. You have become the metaphor of lost warriors who were captured in war. Let me be your songwriter, the song you sing, the dirge you do not know how to sing. Let me wrap around you my lapa has been lost in the storm. Let me lay down all my lapas for you to walk on, my blood-soiled lapa from the war. Let me come to you, my daughters, when the sun becomes yellow and then red. When it turns, it seems the sun is falling down upon us. Let me come to you carrying the moon in my warm palms. Let me be your mommy water, your one mama rising out of the waves of war. Let me be your road map home. Let us walk together homeward, where the ocean roars in peace and in war, the rising tides along Liberia's coast. Let me be your tears. Let me be your mesorado. When I rise, my children, I long for you, but I long for home more. I long for a lost country that I seek to know again. When I rise, my sons, I long for the sounds of the drum that used to sit at Tuapai. I long for cassava shoots and for the banana tree to bloom again. I long for me. I long for the girl that was lost. I long to find my feet again. To find my feet again. To find my feet again. I long to be me. Let me come to you carrying hope in my hands. Let me come to you carrying hope in my hands. Let me come to you, my daughters, carrying hope in my hands. Thank you.
Carlos Remey. Carlos, please come up to the stage and join us. Carlos, for those of you who don't know, is really the engine behind this whole festival. So a round of applause, please, for our friend Carlos as he joins the stage. And Carlos does not want to announce it now, but informally today told me he'd be at the next 5 Roethke prizes. So we got him for the next 5 running these, right, Carlos? Absolutely. All right, so Carlos is going to award the Theodore Roethke Poetry Prize to Patricia Wesley. Dr. Wesley?
Dr. Wesley, it's my honor and privilege to present you with this award. Well deserved.
Congratulations, Patricia, and the Great Lakes Bay region for working to celebrate poetry and the arts through this award. I want to remind everyone, there will be a book signing event after this program concludes. So please join us outside for that if you'd like a copy of this absolutely sensational prize-winning book. All right, and also there'll be a brief audience satisfaction survey. We'd appreciate it if you took just a moment to fill that out after you write your check for the Roethke Endowment Fund. And please don't forget the closing event of the festival will be at Live Coffee Shop in Midland tomorrow at 7 p.m. And that's the Festival of Jazz and Poetry. So trying to get all around the Great Lakes Bay region. So please head out there to Live Oak, get some coffee, some good jazz, and some poetry. So with that, I'd like to thank everyone for attending. And we will see you in not 5 years, 3 years for the next triennial. Thank you all.